When my wife and I came back home, my own son had already thrown us out and told us that the house belonged to him now. But then my lawyer arrived, and my son froze where he stood. My name is Michael. I'm 63 years old. For 36 years, my wife Helen and I built our life one paycheck at a time. Nothing came easily. I worked construction for most of my life, often leaving home before sunrise and returning after dark. Helen worked part-time at a local pharmacy while raising our son, Ryan. We never lived in luxury. Every dollar had a purpose. When Ryan was a little boy, I promised myself he would never have to struggle the way I did. If he wanted new shoes, we found the money. If he wanted to play baseball, I worked extra weekends. When he went to college, Helen and I emptied nearly half of our savings without thinking twice. To us, he wasn't an expense. He was our future. Years passed quickly. Ryan graduated, found a good job, married Ashley, and started building his own life. Watching him stand at the altar was one of the happiest moments I'd ever experienced. I remember leaning over to Helen and whispering, "We did it." She smiled, squeezed my hand, and nodded. For a while, everything seemed normal. They visited almost every Sunday. Ashley always brought dessert. Ryan helped me with little things around the house, and we spent hours talking in the backyard. Then something changed. Not all at once. At first, they skipped one Sunday. Ryan texted that work had become busy. The following week, Ashley wasn't feeling well. 2 weeks later, they canceled again because they had other plans. I didn't think much about it. Young couples have their own lives. Months went by. Sunday dinners slowly became once a month. Then birthdays became phone calls instead of visits. Family holidays turned into short text messages. Helen noticed it before I did. "Do you think we've done something wrong?" she asked one evening while washing the dishes. I laughed and told her she worried too much. "They're just busy." That's what I kept telling both of us. But deep inside, I had already started feeling like a guest in my own son's life. Still, I refused to believe anything was truly wrong. So one Friday afternoon, I made a decision. I called Ryan and invited him and Ashley over for dinner the following evening. "I've got something important I'd like to talk to both of you about," I said. He went quiet for a second. Then he answered, "Sure, Dad. We'll be there." At that moment, I honestly believed that dinner would bring our family closer again. I had no idea. It would become the beginning of the worst mistake of my life. The next evening, Ryan and Ashley arrived right on time. Helen had spent almost the entire afternoon cooking. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, fresh salad, homemade pie. She always believed that no family problem was too big to be discussed around a dinner table. When they walked in, Ashley smiled politely and handed Helen a small box of cookies. Ryan hugged me, but something about it felt different. It wasn't the warm hug I remembered. It felt automatic. We sat down to eat, talking about work, the weather, and little things that didn't really matter. Every conversation felt careful, almost rehearsed, as if everyone was trying to avoid something. I kept waiting for the right moment. Finally, after dinner, I cleared my throat. "I asked you to come because there's something important I need to tell you." Ryan immediately looked serious. Ashley slowly put down her coffee cup. "I'm not sick," I said with a smile. "Don't worry." The tension around the table eased a little. "I've been thinking a lot lately. None of us knows what tomorrow brings." Helen looked at me with surprise. She hadn't heard this conversation before either. "I've decided it's time to prepare my will." For a second, nobody said anything. Then Ryan quietly asked, "A will?" I nodded. "I've worked my whole life. Everything your mother and I have should stay in the family." Ashley suddenly became much more interested in the conversation. She leaned slightly forward. Ryan looked at me and said, "Dad, you don't have to think about those things yet." I smiled. "Maybe not. But I'd rather make those decisions myself while I still can." He nodded slowly. "I understand." The conversation lasted another 15 minutes before we changed the subject. Later that evening, after they left, Helen looked at me with confusion. "You never told me you were planning to write a will." "I wasn't." She frowned. "What do you mean?" I looked out the kitchen window for a few seconds. "I just wanted to see something." "See what?" Whether that conversation would change anything. Helen didn't answer. She simply sighed and started clearing the table. Neither of us knew that the very next morning, everything would begin changing faster than either of us expected. I expected that conversation to be forgotten after a few days. Instead, something strange happened. Ryan started calling me much more often. Not once a month. Not once a week. Almost every other day. At first, I was happy. I honestly believed my little test had reminded him that family should come first. He suddenly wanted to know how I was feeling. He asked if I needed help around the house. He even offered to mow the lawn one Saturday morning. Helen smiled every time she saw his truck pull into the driveway. "I told you," she whispered one afternoon. Maybe he really was just busy. I wanted to believe that too. For the next 3 weeks, Ryan visited us 6 different times. That was more often than he'd visited during the previous 3 months combined. Something didn't feel right. Every visit somehow ended with the same subject. "So, have you talked to that lawyer yet? Or, did you decide what you're going to do with the house?" The first few times I ignored the questions. "I'll think about it," I answered. But Ryan kept asking. Ashley started asking too. She never did it directly. Instead, she'd say things like, "It must feel nice knowing everything you've worked for will stay in the family." Or, "Some people wait too long and create problems after they're gone." Those words stayed in my head long after they left. One evening, Helen looked at me and quietly asked, "Have you noticed they're talking about the house a lot?" I looked at her. "So I'm not imagining it?" She slowly shook her head. "No." That was the first time either of us admitted something felt wrong. I still wasn't angry. I was confused, because I couldn't understand one thing. If Ryan was visiting because he loved spending time with us, why did every conversation somehow end with money, the house, or the will? For the first time in my life, I started watching my own son instead of simply trusting him. And what I noticed over the next few days made my heart sink. A few days later, Ryan called me again. "Dad, are you home?" "I am." "I'll stop by for a few minutes." He arrived less than half an hour later. This time he didn't come empty-handed. He brought a toolbox. "I noticed your front gate is getting loose," he said. "I'll fix it." I thanked him. For the next hour he repaired little things around the house without me even asking. Helen couldn't stop smiling. "See," she whispered. "Maybe we judged him too quickly." I wanted to believe she was right. But then I started noticing small details. When Ryan walked through the house, he wasn't looking at family photos anymore. He looked at the walls, the windows, the kitchen cabinets, the roof outside. It was the kind of look people have when they're imagining changes, not memories. At one point he stopped in the living room. "You know," he said casually, "this room would look much bigger without that old bookshelf." I laughed. "That bookshelf has been there longer than you've been alive." He smiled. "I'm just saying." A few minutes later he walked into the garage. He opened cabinets, checked shelves, looked through old tools. He wasn't hiding it anymore. It felt less like a visit, and more like an inspection. When he finally left, Helen looked relieved. "I'm glad he came." I nodded, but I didn't answer, because one question wouldn't leave my mind. Why was my son acting like he already owned everything? That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. I wanted to see how far this would go. As Ryan was getting ready to leave, he suddenly stopped near the front door. Then he turned around and smiled. "You know, Dad, if you ever decide to move somewhere smaller, I'd gladly take care of this place." For a second, neither Helen nor I knew what to say. He said it so naturally, as if the decision had already been made. I smiled back, but inside, something didn't feel right anymore. About a week later, Ryan called me again. "Dad, are you busy tomorrow?" "Not really. I was thinking, maybe I could help you organize the basement. You've been saying for years that it's full of old junk." He was right. Our basement was packed with boxes we hadn't opened in years. The next morning he arrived earlier than usual. For almost 2 hours we sorted through old family photos, broken furniture, dusty tools, and boxes filled with things Helen had saved over the decades. At first everything felt normal. Then I noticed something. Ryan wasn't interested in what we were throwing away. He was interested in what might be valuable. Every few minutes he'd ask, "Does this watch still work? How much did this painting cost? Are these silver?" At one point he found an old metal box. "Dad, what's in here?" I walked over, opened it, and smiled. "Just old letters your mother wrote me before we got married." He looked disappointed. A few minutes later he asked another question. "So, where do you actually keep the important documents?" I looked straight at him. "What documents?" "You know, the house papers, insurance, things like that." I shrugged. "Somewhere safe." He laughed awkwardly. I was just curious. Maybe he was. Maybe he wasn't. But for the first time, his curiosity didn't feel innocent. Later that evening, after Ryan had gone home, Helen quietly sat beside me. "I've been thinking about something." "What is it?" "If Ryan really came here just to spend time with us, why did he never ask how you're feeling today?" I thought back over the entire day. She was right. Not once. Not a single time. Instead, he had asked about the documents, the valuables, and the house. That night, I made another decision. The next time Ryan came over, I was going to give him exactly what he seemed to be looking for. 3 days later, Ryan called again. "Dad, are you home? I need to drop something off." When he arrived, he looked unusually nervous. He barely sat down before asking, "Have you actually finished your will yet?" I looked straight at him. No, for just a split second. I caught the disappointment on his face. He tried to hide it immediately. "Oh, I was just asking." Then his phone rang. He stepped outside to answer it. The back door hadn't closed completely. Neither of us planned to listen. But Helen and I couldn't help hearing a few words. "Not yet. He still hasn't signed anything. I'll let you know." Ryan came back inside as if nothing had happened. 10 minutes later, he left. Neither Helen nor I said a word. We simply looked at each other. "Who was he talking to?" she whispered. I didn't know. But one thing became painfully clear. Ryan wasn't acting alone anymore. That evening, I couldn't stop thinking about the phone call. So the next morning, I drove to the lawyer's office. Not because I wanted to write a will. Because I wanted advice. When I told him everything that had happened over the last few weeks, he stayed silent for a long time. Finally, he looked at me and said, "Michael, if I were you, I wouldn't tell anyone anything else about your property." Then he leaned closer. "And whatever you do, don't sign a single document without calling me first." I walked out of his office with a strange feeling in my stomach. For the first time, I realized this wasn't just about money anymore. Something much bigger was starting to unfold. The following Saturday, Ryan showed up without calling. That had never happened before. He walked inside like he belonged there. "Dad?" he smiled. I was nearby. I nodded. "Coffee?" "Sure." While Helen was in the kitchen, Ryan slowly walked through the house. I didn't stop him. Instead, I watched. He stood in every room for a few seconds. The living room, the master bedroom, the office. Then he walked onto the back porch. "You know," he said casually, "this place could easily sell for over $600,000. I froze. I had never told him how much the house was worth. "Who told you that?" I asked. He looked surprised. "Oh, I just guessed." "No, you didn't?" Someone had been talking to him. Before I could ask another question, Helen called us to the table. The conversation moved on. But my mind didn't. That evening I checked something I hadn't looked at in years. Inside my desk was a folder with every document related to the house. I opened it. Everything was exactly where I'd left it. Except, one envelope had been moved. Not opened. Just moved. I looked at Helen. "Did you touch these papers?" She shook her head immediately. No. Neither of us said another word. Because we were both thinking the same thing. Someone else had. And for the first time, I locked that drawer before going to bed. The very next evening, Ryan called me. "Dad, can I borrow your spare house key?" I frowned. "What for?" "In case something happens to you or Mom. It would just be easier." I smiled. "I've lived here for 38 years. If something happens, you'll know." He laughed. But I didn't. The conversation ended there. The next afternoon, my neighbor Tom called. "Michael, I don't know if this is my business, but I saw Ryan trying your front door this morning." I froze. "What do you mean?" He looked around first. Then he tried the handle. When it didn't open, he left. I thanked Tom and hung up. I didn't call Ryan. I wanted to know what he'd do next. 2 days later, Helen and I drove into town for groceries. We were gone less than 40 minutes. When we returned, the front gate was open. I knew I had closed it. Nothing inside the house looked different. Nothing was missing. But someone had been there. That evening I installed a small security camera above the front door. I didn't tell Ryan. I didn't tell anyone. 3 days later, the camera sent me a notification. Someone was standing on my porch. When I opened the recording, my heart almost stopped. It was Ryan. And he wasn't alone. I replayed the video 3 times. Ryan wasn't alone. Standing next to him was Ashley. She kept looking up and down the street while Ryan tried to look through the front window. Then he pointed toward the side of the house. A few seconds later, both of them walked straight toward my office window. That's when I paused the video. They weren't checking if I was home. They already knew exactly where they wanted to go. The next morning I called Ryan. "Want to come over for dinner tonight?" "Of course, Dad." That evening, everything felt strangely normal. Helen cooked his favorite meal. Ashley smiled. Ryan laughed at old family stories. If I hadn't seen that video, I would have believed every second of it. After dinner, Ryan stood up. "I'm going to wash my hands." Instead of walking toward the bathroom, he quietly turned into the hallway leading to my office. I waited 5 seconds. Then I followed him. When I walked into the room, he was standing in front of my desk. The drawer was open. He turned around so quickly that he nearly dropped the folder in his hands. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he forced a smile. "I was just looking for a pen." I looked down. There wasn't a single pen anywhere near that drawer. But there was only one folder inside. The folder marked House Documents. At that moment, I finally stopped doubting myself. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse him. I simply held out my hand. "Give me the folder." Ryan hesitated for a second. Then he handed it to me. "I can explain." I calmly closed the drawer. "No, you've already explained enough." The room fell completely silent. Ashley slowly walked into the hallway. She had heard everything. Ryan looked at me. "Dad, you're misunderstanding." I shook my head. "For weeks you've asked about the house. You asked about the documents. You tried to get a key. You came here while we were gone. And yesterday, you searched my desk." He couldn't deny any of it. Instead, he lowered his head. "I just wanted to make sure everything would stay in the family." I almost smiled. "Ryan, a family isn't built with documents. It's built with trust." He didn't answer. Then I reached into the drawer and placed a single white envelope on the table. "I wanted to give you this weeks ago." Ryan looked at it. His hands were shaking. Slowly, he opened the envelope. Inside, there was only one sheet of paper. It wasn't a will. It wasn't a property transfer. It was a letter. The first line read, "I wanted to know whether you loved your father or only what he owned." Ryan stopped reading. His eyes filled with tears. For the first time in weeks, he had nothing to say. Ryan folded the letter without saying a word. Ashley quietly walked toward the front door. She understood before Ryan did. Everything was over. A few seconds later, Ryan finally looked at me. "Dad, I'm sorry." It was the first honest thing I'd heard from him in weeks. I nodded. "I believe you're sorry. But you're sorry because you got caught. Not because you broke my heart." His eyes filled with tears. He tried to speak again. I raised my hand. "No. You don't owe me another explanation. You owe your mother one." Ryan slowly turned toward Helen. She had been crying the entire time. Without saying a single word, she simply walked past him. That hurt him more than anything I could have said. Ryan and Ashley left the house that night. Neither of them called the next day, or the next week. Months passed. One afternoon, someone knocked on my front door. It was Ryan. This time, he came alone. No smile. No questions. No excuses. He held out a small box. Inside were the spare keys I had given him years ago. "I don't deserve these anymore." For the first time in months, I saw my son again. Not the man chasing a house. Just my son. We didn't solve everything that day. Some wounds need time. Some trust has to be earned again. But I learned something. Never test people with money. Sooner or later, money reveals who they already are.